I'm Jason Goliath.
And I'm Nicholas Goliath.
And this is a new podcast called The Happiness Economy, where we try and unpack, figure out, investigate, interrogate, I think holistically understand what is happiness even.
What is it to you? What is it to me? Is it different? Is it the same? What do you do to chase your happiness? Just chase it. We want to chat to people who we believe have found their happiness or are on the way to finding their happiness and find out what it is that makes them happy.
So, if you're happy, we're happy. The Happiness Economy with Nicholas and Jason Goliath. Tell her what you must. Welcome to the Happiness Economy podcast. Our guest today is the great, the cute, the Mr. Supranational, Mr. Host, Mr. Fitness, Mr. Men's Health Covers, Dr. Fez.
Wow, that's an intro. Huh? Thank you so much for having me, guys. I didn't know multiple men's healths were put into bios, but there you go.
Listen, it's you will notice about us. We will introduce you based on the stuff that makes us most jealous of your life. Most jealous. I was once in men's health. I've got it on my wall. Myself and Dan Nickel did a boxing. That's unnecessary.
Wow, and that was just a stray. He just caught you. I was listening like,
Nicholas will be a storm on your sunny day. That's what Nicholas will do. Nicholas is the rain after you've just washed the car. That's what Nicholas is in somebody's life sometimes. And he's always preaching positivity. Don't be the cloud, be the silver lining.
I was silver lining that thing.
You were raining. The rain doesn't come from the silver lining.
This man literally hit him with as a before. Silver lining.
Anyway.
It was a silver lining for me. I'm trying to find my own joy here today.
Joy is literally what this is about. So, Dr. Fez, the reason you're here is we invite people on this podcast who we deem to be happy. So, we live in this world where everybody has a curated view. And I think you are the perfect person to talk through this. If you meet a fan, somebody who's followed you for, let's say, 5 years, they've been watching all of the achievements, they've been following you strictly, Facebook, they catch you only on TV, they catch you only on their phones. Do you find that when people meet you, they believe that your life is the curated perfection that you post online?
I love that you assume it's curated perfection. I always tell people, life is hard, man. I come from a single parent household, and then my father passed away when I was about 2.5. Mother was pregnant with my younger sister, I had an older brother, and then from there, just life felt like it was uncertain. And
life goes on to hard mode immediately in that moment.
And as a child, I don't know when people remember when you realize, things could go badly. You always go, Disney, things can be perfect. Somebody will come and save you. Never. I realized that from that young age where you can just have everything taken away. So I was like, oh, okay. This is life. It's
you
hard.
Are on your own.
It's and it can go like
even
this.
Even those that are there for you can disappear.
Thank you. And for me, it's the craziest thing because as a single mother, she had to work harder.
Yes.
So that means she was out the house.
100%.
She was a teacher, marking,
100%.
extra marking, get more money. So I was like, wait a minute, my father died in a car accident. Taxi driver came in, it was a whole mess. And I'm like, oh, she's on the thing that took him away. So what are the odds that it takes her away as well? They're there.
Were you aware enough through the pain in that moment that it doesn't matter that your mom and dad were good people, your mom's a good person, they work hard, they follow the societal rules. Unfair things can happen to the best people.
She went to church, they both went to church, they
didn't
believed in
this.
God. Thank you. And for me, that's when I go, oh, okay, it's not like the books where it's like, oh, this man was a bad man. And then the horse kicked him and he died. And I was like, it's because you were bad. Justice. It's like great people, helped people, would bring people into the house, would bring his friends. People talked about him really well, but he was gone. And then I was like, okay, my mother could also just go. And if she goes, I'm an orphan. Now what do I do? Because Oliver Twist looked great on the movie, but even he had other people that were left in that orphanage, and he had a better. So I'm just, it's a fear that was there, and I know I'm going all the way back to where I started.
That's
to
exactly
answer your
where
question.
You want to start.
Is that I almost then realized, and it's been through life, through working through things, because I also feel as a Zulu man, as a black Zulu man, people don't like you, don't necessarily tell you to go into like those childhood traumas or like things that trigger you.
You must just be strong.
Just
Be
Just
strong.
be
and
strong,
move on.
Baba.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just die. Yeah, you are a warrior. Like feel something, push it down. Like just be hard.
I don't know if you know one of our favorite comedians, Loiso Madinga.
Yeah.
So
I know,
Madinga does this amazing, used to do before he moved to the States, he does this amazing series of, we'll be sitting up like this, and then during the scenes he'll come up to you with his camera out and go, like say, Dr. Fez, everybody's so admire and inspired by you. They admire you so much. Give them the top tips of how to become doctor. And as you're
And then
about
you
to,
go, and then I think
nobody
cares.
cares.
Work harder.
Nobody cares.
Work harder.
Now, from the first time I watched those videos, I was like, I wonder if he knows that this is like he's playing life. He's playing the role of life, because I feel like that's how life is like. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Work harder, which is like, and when I say it, it's not a defeatist nobody cares. I think it's a winning nobody cares. It's not a oh shame woe is
It's a
me.
reality
Oh,
check.
Exactly.
Because too many people are waiting for somebody to come and rescue them, come and save them.
hallelujah.
There's too many, and nobody cares.
And
Nobody cares.
that's the mindset. And you guys, look at you. It's like we know each other. This
Come
is
on.
where I was trying to get to in terms of like, I care. Like I
Yes.
genuinely care about
Yes.
people. I genuinely like interacting with
Yes.
people. So when you come to me, I people call them fans. I just go people who've seen me on a screen. Like I'm
Yes.
sitting with you two, and that's blowing my mind. Anytime I see somebody who I think has done great things, and we were able to do like a kind of a mini little movie thing, and John, one of our friends, kind of feature films that he was doing, and it was really great to meet you. It's coming into contact with people who I think nobody cares, work harder, but still are those guys who stop with the fan and be like, hey, bro,
I think those people-
Jordans.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh,
Those are the ones that care the most. The
Thank
people who know nobody cares, work harder, are the people who actually care.
Yeah.
Those are the people who actually care. So this is going to be, we are on a train already, which I'm loving.
Yeah,
But I want to
it's
just give some
It's
context.
happening.
Yeah.
So the whole objective of this is we're trying to kind of boil it down into a workable recipe. It's like, if we speak to enough people about their happiness, lack thereof, what we perceive their happiness is, and how they aspire to live the happiest possible version of their lives, despite life happening all the time, can we come up with a little recipe? So we've got a Goliath Happiness Index, and the Goliath Happiness Index boils it down to 3 words, which are the words that we'll focus on for the rest of the podcast.
I watched the
Those-
show, so
100%.
just know that I know.
You know the word.
Gap.
So
Yes, man.
So, for those of you who
Yeah.
have not yet watched the show, the comedy version of the podcast, which is actually
This is
hilarious
the first
and
time
emotional.
actually that we are talking about it
100%.
on the podcast
100%.
itself.
So,
And
so
that's-
you're our debut, and it's so nice that you watched the show. So the word is gap. You've got to fill the gap. You've got to mind the gap. You've got to find the gap, and you've got to be aware of the gap. And gap is made up of gratitude, acceptance, and perspective. Nicholas often says perception. It's perfectly
the same.
exchangeable.
Same,
but
but
gratitude, acceptance, perspective, and that's what the Goliath Happiness Index has come to at this point. It's still growing. It's still living. But I'd like us to focus on. And I think a lovely place to start is always gratitude. So somebody who can make a lot of excuses to not be grateful. You had a dad
To not
taken
be
away from
great.
you to not be great.
Yeah.
So you had a dad taken away from you at a young age. You had a mom who, it didn't matter how amazing she intended to be, now had to carry both roles, which means she's working more than she would have liked to work. And I often think about how much time I spend about thinking about my happiness, and then know that, I had a single mom environment for a very different reason. And I think about how happy my mom was a lot of the time. I know a lot of it was just for me, a lot of it was just in front of me. But in terms of gratitude, where does the gratitude in your life come from if we look at it as a broad spectrum? What makes you grateful?
There's so many things. And so let me just see here.
No, have fun. Don't worry about this. Oh,
fancy,
switch it off.
fancy. No.
switch
Those
it
are
off.
fancy. So
Yeah.
if you look here, all right. So this is a Casio. A lot of
best.
people give me so much. Like I've worn this in like a fancy suit that's
Do they
worth
ask
so
you
much
what
money.
type of doctor are you?
They're like, hey, no, Baba. Are you that
like
one with the
Dr.
poster
Matthew?
there?
Dr. Kumar.
Seeking love. Come to me.
Even
And-
Dr. Kumalo could do better.
No, that's a classic Casio boy.
Thank
no,
you,
for
sir.
sure. Yeah,
This
yeah.
is a car guy here.
No,
This is
that's,
a car guy. He knows classics.
And I have a lot of Casios because I'm a fan.
And
I'm a
that's
fan not only of the era, I'm a fan of the simplicity, and I'm a fan of, that's the Toyota Corolla of watches.
Thank you.
That thing's never going to stop.
It's
light is
and
gonna
it's got
outlive
the
you.
light. It's got
gonna
the
outlive
beep.
you.
Yeah.
the reason why I point to stuff like this is because it pulls me back to like a physical point of gratitude. So when I grew up, my mother will tell you, she was always like, he did everything. Cricket, rugby, everything that was not in the water. Because we didn't have a pool.
Because life.
So I couldn't, and I only learned later. Yeah. No.
Not because Zulu. Not because Zulu. Because life.
Thank you. My buoyancy was not right. The water pulled me.
I mean, look at our body type. Look at our body type. Can float is not going to float. We don't make the rules.
I'm heavy.
If you don't understand points, we'll do another podcast.
I love that. So with that, she was always like, "Hey, Lalela, we don't have a lot of money. You can't be out here doing every sport under the sun." Because I needed basketball shoes, I needed cricket, ball box, all that stuff. I needed all that stuff, and she just said, "Money, money, money." I wanted to do piano. I was just a very interested kid.
Yes.
She was a single parent who also helped other kids and would house them in our house if they needed to study, all that kind of stuff. Now I'm here wanting too much. So I remember wanting a watch, and I'd always look at Casios, and there was the one that had the little keypad.
I've got two. I've got the gold and the silver, dog. I've got the gold and the silver.
Listen, I would tell her, Ma, I would get 100% every time because I'd be like, beep, 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 and I'd know all the answers.
The data bank, boy.
And she'd roll her eyes. I was like, you know what? It's fine. You're a single parent. To me, I'm going to knuckle through. Until there's a weird time in your life where you see the things that you used to look at and you'd go, one day.
Yeah.
And you go, and I remember walking past the watch and be like, one day. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm a doctor? You know what I mean? I pay bills. I have subscriptions. And it just dawned on me. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm an adult and I can pay for things my mother might not have been able to. And it literally just washed over me that this isn't a lot of money, but in my mind I built it up to be this thing that I can't have because we don't have money to play around.
100%.
Like it's playing around money. And I want to give you this one example of, and I tell my mother, there are many things I've forgiven her for because I understand our context, but this one I was like, no, my okay, so do you remember Push Pop?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, the older generation.
Thank you.
I remember. Push through, and then you can.
I remember anything with sugar for the last 40 years. I'm a ball. I've got to. Yes.
Push Pop. I was 10 years old. Big birthday coming up. Gonna be 10. My mother would wake us up in the morning with a glass of Coke and a cake for your birthday. Not the greatest nutrition plan, but there you go. It felt, I was like, birthday, Coke, Coke cake, it's good. So I told her, man, listen, I've never asked you for anything. I'd save money. She'd give me like 255 rand on a Friday. I'd save it up and then I'd try buy bread. Yeah. Like that's the kind of conscientious child I was because I was fearful. I was like, anything could happen. Where could I have control if I could save money or we could work at the store and bring it back home? Comes from fear because you're trying to find 100%. Stability. That one time I was like, okay, ma, please. Look at this thing. And the Push Pop ads would come. Push Pop, push it back, save it for later. I was like, this is the one for me. Because
like a big sugary lip ice for your mouth.
I'd be like, lick, if I pay 10, I'll be like, I'll save it for a week. Yeah. So I was like, okay, this is the thing I want. Ma, please. Every time it would come on the screen, ma, this is me. She was like, okay, Nganyam, okay. So the birthday comes. Before I leave before she drops me for school, I'm like, ma, Push Pop. She was like, sure, Push Pop. I was, sure. Come back home. I'm early, of course. Get back home, drop off my bag. I'm excited. I've already told all the guys at school, guys, we're going to share. I'm going to give you one lick. It's going to be safe. It's going to be
pre-COVID.
And pre-doctor. Pre-studies as well. Pre-doctor, yeah.
So she comes back home. Hey, mother. She comes back home. She gives me 2 Babaloos. She puts them on the table. She's like, here you go. I looked at her. I was like, what you mean?
But Babalu was like a sentence chappy.
Thank you. Listen, it was still fancier than I had.
No, it wasn't a Push Pop.
No, it's a left-hand drive chappy, but it's still a chappy.
Inside.
And if you're a child who comes, and I know you guys will feel this, you don't fight. You take that thing, you go. You see, like the
thank you,
because I said, she was like, sorry. She's like, I can take it. I can take it. And I was like, no. So I sat there, and I remember just biting it, and then had that center that was oozy, and then I put it in the packet. I was like, it's not the same. Like, next day, the guys are like, hey, bruh, so where's the...
Yeah, Owens came, mouths open.
Broke that bubble into 6 pieces there. We're like, So to this day, I'm like, if anybody knows a place that has a Push Pop, because that's my last thing that I'm like, okay, I've achieved because
So
I
you
can
got
buy
the
a push
Casio
pop.
watch.
Casio,
But are you trying to tell me in your life you've never dollared?
not one, bro.
Not one.
I don't know
push
where
pop?
they are. I don't know who has them. But if you can give them for me, I'll even do a post.
Have you
No,
ever
we can-
heard where people say the Lord works in mysterious ways? And I'm not going to pull out a push pop now. And surprise. I'm not doing
you
that.
had
Yo,
me.
it's not that mysterious.
But have you ever, no,
I
no,
was
no.
like, why
no,
do
no,
you
no.
roll with push pop?
No, well, because I'm a fat. but it's the Lord works in mysterious ways because I've been jealous of you from afar. Where I look at you and no, the perception of you
I'm
is
trying to
like
see where
no,
you're
the
coming-
perception
yeah,
of
yeah.
you is like
because you didn't get a
this guy. It's not fair. Like, and I'll tell you now, because I was born overweight as a kid. So every time I see a guy, I call them Team Vrpa. It's you, it's Maps, it's John Boyton
Jonathan
Lee.
Boyton, Siv,
Team
when he
Vrpa.
wants.
Yeah, Siv
When
is
he
also
wants, yo.
Team. Then I'm Team Boompa. And then I've always got a little bit of spite and jealousy. Then the fact that I used to leave push pops half uneaten sometimes.
Wow!
Sometimes I would not. Okay, I'm
Yarr.
lying now, but I've had so many push pops. I've had so many push pops in my life that I believe because I've always like God. Why would you give him all the talent? You gave him brains to be a doctor. You gave him genetics to process food into a 6-pack. You gave him all of these, and he's a nice guy. Because that's the worst part. Because when we see you on
but
social
that's what I'm
media,
saying.
we think you're not going to be nice. Then
Somebody
we meet
said
you
that
and
to
you're
me.
still
Somebody
nice.
said that to me, and I was like,
No.
"What makes me?"
But
Never
it's because
tasted
you
a
don't
push
have
pop.
they don't have the story of you sharing your babalu because
Hey,
that's
sir,
the time at
sir.
that moment you should be embarrassed. You've already bragged to the press that I'm coming with the push
Yeah.
pop. So you should be embarrassed. Like in my mind, it's easier to say my mom couldn't afford it or we didn't get it instead of coming with the lesser thing
Yeah.
that the Owens are now going to charge you.
Ah.
Or just to keep it for yourself and go,
And just,
there's only
and be
two
like, this is-
babalus, it's for
yeah.
me. But even in, like, that's a thing that your mom must have instilled in you, the give, share.
Yeah.
It's about your friends, it's more than just the thing that you want.
Exactly. And
That's
I think
why he's a nice guy.
I think that's so the gratitude element is where, and when I say these things, and it's not to knock anybody from kind of Johannesburg, the circles that, and I'm sure you guys also know, the
Yeah.
circles that we move with now, we're all from different walks of life.
Yeah.
And when you tell certain stories, and of course it was great watching your show. Everybody needs to watch the show. We saw it at like the first show,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we're seeing all of you go kind of bringing in the concepts. I'd love to see what it looks like now, but it's what makes you guys so affable. It makes you engageable because we see you on the screens, we see you on the shows. You're really good at what you do. It's almost effortless now. You riff, you hear, you
100%.
bring it back, and then you tie it with a bow. Like it's easy for you to say, but I understand how hard that kind of stuff is, and how hard it is for me to have also thought like, oh, my mother couldn't, like, she was too busy, man. She was coming from school, she had to grab somewhere, she couldn't find this push pop thing. Like I'm thinking there's too much for this one thing, but the electricity was on, food was there.
100%. Yeah.
She'd tell me she loved me, and I'm like, oh, okay, like there's this.
Do you look back at that time and realize how much of your childhood a big trauma like that robs you of? And how much, because a child shouldn't have to do the maths between Babalu and the push pop.
Yeah.
A child shouldn't have to be considerate about the fact that, this lady woke up early, works harder than she has to, helps everybody other than herself. Because that's, moms are also a special brand of human. So
where
then
the
is it
acceptance comes
fair to say that gratitude could be a little bit easier for you to access in a real way than somebody, for example, who grew up with no trauma, who grew up with a dual income household where the parents made above average money, they went to decent schools, they didn't have the same basic pressures as you did. Do you think that makes so having it hard, does that make it easier to be grateful?
I think so. It gives you those, and for me, it is a coping mechanism. Like, you cope with some things by going, I might not get this, I might not have gotten this, but I'm alive, I can walk around, I can think the way I think, I have the capabilities I have. That's where my gratitude starts. Like, right from the morning, I'm like, my guy, you're alive, you can think. My father passed away. The weird thing about our family is like all the men passed. So his brothers passed. So I had two other uncles. And then my cousin, who was a male, who was like the oldest after another one had passed away from an infection. He then passed 2 years ago. And so like this death has been something that's kind of followed the family, and I always think I'm alive. So what a crazy thing to start off with gratitude.
I opened my eyes, I have breath in my lungs,
and I can tell you 15 people who aren't, people that I knew, whose faces I saw, who I grew up with, who I thought were amazing, who were role models to me, because I was generally round about the youngest. And I'm like, okay, so if I'm starting off on that basis, that's already a great day. So now I've got that one up on you. Trauma, it's intense. I have fears attached to it. There's all sorts of things that I've had to unravel and work with. But I'm like, I'm alive. What a way to be moving through things if you can just be happy that you're alive.
You've won already.
Yeah.
Now you've won already. Because if I and I know you've been holding this thing, but just to wrap it up, it's not only that you're alive. So you go, I'm alive and I'm capable.
Yeah.
Which means you're not. Your gratitude is not linked to your bank balance. Your gratitude is linked to the fact that you're alive and you have potential to still do whatever it is you want to do.
Exactly. No, so my question was going to be, excuse me, around the fact that, like you said, the males in your family die.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that influenced your decision to become a doctor, or?
Good question.
Okay, so I feel like I have all these. I've realized over time that my mother has given me some of the best anecdotes about.
Ah, you and me both, Papa.
Share
mommy's knowledge.
Mother. So my mother, smart woman, JN. Shout out to you.
Shout out, mommy.
She would come into. So my mother was very smart. She was a chess champion within her regional space. She went to rural parts of KZN, so I know how to herd cows and everything. She comes from a farm, like in Makaya. That's what they call it, Makaya, in the homes, and. She would like tell me, hey man, listen, I was the head girl in my school. People came internationally, gave me scholarship. I had applied to either be a doctor or nursing. I was going to go to med school. But because we stayed where we stayed, the acceptance letter came late and it was too late for me to actually say I accept the position, blah, blah, blah.
Oh my God.
But I'm also not like comfortable enough to be like, oh, gap year. Let me just wait. Because it's like, hey, what you mean? So she became the first person to go to varsity, and my grandmother was a maid, and she was very knowledgeable, eloquent, but you know the time, so she couldn't also do anything. So cool. Then my mother would tell this long story, and she'd be like, hey, but you know, it'd be nice to have a doctor in the house, but like, it's fine. It's whatever. and I'm sitting there. Imagine, this is me.
You have no guilt like a black man with guilt.
And I'm thinking, I'm like, nah, man, no. Apartheid, all these things, it won't win. You'll have a doctor. She's like, no, my child, I don't want to force you, no. Do tell her what you must, like, whatever you want to do.
I'll support whatever you want to do.
She's like, I just want you happy. So I'd be there. I'd be like, distinctions, pushing. And my brother always liked accounting. He was always a numbers guy, did really well in accounting. And I always thought he was going to do accountancy. Yeah. And all of a sudden, he went to medical school. And I never fully sat down to him and asked him. But I was like, cool. Older brother, he finished. I was in about my 5th year. And we're sitting down. We both went to UCT Cape Town. And he was just like, so I was sitting and I was like, hey, man, I've never asked you this, but like, I thought you were going to do accounting all your life. Why did you decide to jiggy shake? And then he was like, hey, man, listen, we never had these conversations with you there, but Mom would always tell me. I was like, no. Then I realized every time she'd tell me that story, it's just me and her in the room. Like, you know, my child.
All of the children.
She finessed 2 doctors, same household, one parent there, done. She was like, I just want.
That is, I will manipulate them into being the best.
Champions.
The best. They won't know.
You use the skills that you have in the world.
She played
in your house.
And we literally looked at each other. And at the end of my graduation, she did like this big party to be like, oh, my children have finished varsity. And I was like, no, this is your, come out. This is your championship. Like, hey. And she was like, listen, I don't know why the government's acting like they can't get doctors. Me, look, I check them out. What are my percentages? I was like, wow, JN, the GOAT. The GOAT.
No,
that lady, the GOAT.
It's outstanding.
So,
but also the fact that, because my mother wanted me to do accounting. Like in my mother's, I know she never said it. She never said
but
it.
You knew.
She's a bookkeeper, and I know she would have loved for me to be an accountant.
Yeah.
And like, even though I knew, and I'm an only child, both parents, I knew what my mom wanted. I was like, there wasn't enough motivation for me to go, I'm going to do the thing. Because I hated numbers. So then, I mean, there must be like some type of a...
No, there was... Listen, I do love it. I love people. I love the work. It's just, it's those little moments. So your tipping point, that little point of like, it was like, wow. And she just told me that story. She's not saying, I want you, whatever.
Yes.
She'd be like, yeah, you know,
You
like,
make the decision.
I would have been the only black child. And you know these stories. All you're hearing is
No,
the
'cause-
long walk
yo,
to freedom. I was
yo.
like, Nelson did it. How can you
Yeah.
not? You're my mother. You work hard. She's like, no, like, listen, I'm not. Live your life. Be happy.
That's the perfect
Be happy.
segue into the second part is acceptance. so you've had to accept the fact that dad is gone. A car accident, I think, is. I mean,
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's we were mid. I think what a lot of people who haven't suffered that type of trauma don't understand is, you think about your life while you're watching this thing right now, and think about the fact that you've got plans for what you're going to do for the rest of the day. Never mind the rest of the week. Think about the fact that you're probably mid conversation, and then everything changes. You then have a mother that's had to accept this
While she's pregnant.
While she's pregnant, you then have this very different upbringing now than what was on the cards, what was in her mind. How much of your life? So, in terms of acceptance, where are you? How much of your life have you accepted? I think it's not fair to ask you that because, you know, you've worked very hard, but I feel like there had to have been an acceptance that I'm gonna have to put in more. Like, because my dad was an alcoholic, there was a subconscious thing in the back of my mind. So my story is like, and I've never shared this story, but my mom had a thorn in her Bible taped under a red piece of tape that the priest had put there. And the priest said, I'm putting this thorn here. It was one of those long thorns. He said, I'm putting this thorn here because you've got a thorn in your life. And you're going to leave this thorn here to remind you to pray. And when the thorn has been removed, you can remove the thorn. The thorn is still in the Bible, that thorn. That thorn was never removed. But there was definitely this environment where I realized I've got to be better than my friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My mom's got enough on her plate. She's already doing enough. So you have to, at a very young age, be conscious of those things. How do those things play into you accepting the way your life is and accepting how much control you have over the way your life can be?
Sure.
Because it's easy to use that as an excuse.
Yeah, of course. But
100%.
that's what I'd see. I'd see people be like, yo, Baba, I was great at ABC, but this happened. And I go, okay, but now you're here. And life, it still continues.
happening.
And then, like the and then is the craziest thing. But so I'm gonna answer it with this. It's funny that you talked about the friend thing. One of the most painful things I'd heard, my close friends all knew, like single mother. I had friends whose parents were doctors, mansions, 2 stories in a house. I was like, yeah, you have,
Nice thing.
you have 1, 2, you have steps.
You have
like
2
where,
houses,
yeah.
one on
No, you
top
got
of
That's
the
what I mean.
other.
I was like, you're getting
level.
closer to God. You get to sleep. You're above me when I
Your
sleep.
prayers are on
Gosh.
5G.
The only time I was on elevators when we did a bunk bed with my brother. I was like, it's not the
Got a
same.
double story
listen,
bed.
listen,
Got a
it's
double
not
story
because you
bed.
gotta work to get there. Because the ladder also broke. Now I'm a kung fu panda.
Oh, so
no
the 6
six
Yeah,
packs
it's
to
just-
See,
move.
we thought the 6 pack is from gym. It's
Hey,
from
sir,
just going to bed.
struggle. But one of my friends who we had become like friends, we play sports and you know each other. So people came to my house. They didn't always come because I didn't have the PlayStation 2s and stuff. So, but they were coming there because we play some cricket. We had enough space. And the guy comes in from the back, and we hadn't had somebody kind of cleaning the back in a while. My mother had been busy working around, so she hadn't had the time. And the guy kind of walks in, and he didn't know I was there. He's like, "Hey guys, why is it so messy here?" His father was a doctor, had pools in the house, big house, had a garden guy who came through to cut the lawn, and he was like, "Yeah, is Fez poor, man? Like, why is the grass all up here?" And then he comes and he kind of sees me standing there, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, sure. Okay, is he okay?" I was like, "Nah, man, it's just well, it'll get cut. Like, I'll cut it." I remember using a slasher there to try and cut it, just like in case next time,
Yeah.
don't have any scum. But it's those little things where, again, I was going, but my mother is like putting food on the table.
Yeah.
All these things are getting done. I just need to also pull my weight. That's why I save the money on the Fridays. I didn't go to the tuck shop. I'd be like, nah, it's cool. I don't need to buy my Chelsea bun or whatever. I save that money. I give it to her. I'm like, yo, do whatever it is you need to do, because my father might not be there, but like somebody's got your back.
100%.
That's what I always wanted to know.
That's so
Somebody's
nice.
got your back.
not
The
alone.
reason why I worked out
Oh.
is because I was a big fear of mine again is because there isn't a man in the house. If somebody came in, and it's a
need to-
weird thing to say, I needed to be able to fight them.
Dude,
Yeah.
So I do
can't
push-ups.
explain that.
I
I
do.
get that
Yeah,
so-
because I'm like, if
Ooh.
somebody comes in, somebody needs to step up, and I didn't want to push that onto my brother. I didn't want to. I was like, I have to be the protector because somebody isn't there.
Yes.
So all of these little fear points. I'd hear somebody broke into the house. I'd be like, okay, just make sure that you are somebody who is of value because she's gonna need someone. You can see that she sweats, comes in. She's always tired. That's what I saw my mother. My mother would always be like, and it's a joke now because I'd be like, I'm tired at the end of the day. I was like, I'm tired, and I'm like, yeah. It's like because I'd hear it from her. So those were the things that told me I just have to be more. Everybody is great. I did really well academically. I had an affinity to it. I just picked things up, but I was also like, I have to be more because what happens if you need to get through varsity or you need this or you need? I just have to be more.
what happens if they need?
Yeah. So and for me, it's that person isn't there. I don't know how he would handle this. I don't have an example for it, but I'm going to take it out of books. So in books, there was heroes who would conquer dragons, and I'd read vicariously. Like I would just read everything. But there were also people who were competent. There were people who were kind, but could also square up and like fight.
Yes.
So as a kid, I also tended to be a bit more aggressive. If somebody spoke to me some kind of way, I'd be like, talk to me nice. And I'd be young. I'd be like, listen, I was like, I'm and I remember having the soundtrack, and the one time I fought like a couple of 14-year-olds far older than me, and I was like 9.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, hit me, it's fine. I feel no pain. So I'd go all the way to the worst part of the spectrum, and I'd be like, no, just be hard, be cold, be hard, be cold. And I'd have little mantras that I'd tell myself that my mother would come back and I'd be successful. I'll look out for her. Nobody would ever intimidate her. Like that was the little bubble I'd have. And then I wouldn't tell her because I don't want her stressed about that. I don't want her thinking, oh, my boy is like worried about these kinds of things because now she'll feel bad. So I put all of that on my own back. And that's why I hate concepts like bullies. That's why when I go out, all of this stuff isn't about me. And I tell people all the time, somebody will say something nice, you're handsome or you work out. I'm like, no, guys, don't say that. Yeah, like they'll be like, and I'm like, don't say that. And my partner would tell me, she's just like, oh, why are you like? I'm like, because like it's just not. It's not about me. It's like about the end goal.
I fully understand.
No,
that.
you know, it's
I don't
also
get the six pack, but I understand the compliments that you like. It's a weird thing.
Because you're doing it out of a necessity or purpose that you've had from when you were young. Like even
do you think it also stems from the fact that we're not allowed to say it out loud, but those compliments, you're complimenting me about things that don't matter.
Yeah.
Like I got you, but compliment me about being a good son, a good
that's
brother.
what I mean.
Compliment me about showing up. Compliment me about
how
and that's,
like even
but it's
those
not, but it's not taking something away from those complimenting you.
Yeah.
I think that we struggle to understand that we all have a different lived experience, which then makes different things a priority, and you based on your lived experience, different things are important. When you were kids, that bra thought it's important to have a clean yard. From your mind, you're like, dude, we have a yard.
That's what
My
I mean.
mom, we don't have
Like,
a daddy, and my mom works so hard.
We'd
that
go
we
to
have a
rural
yard.
parts of
100%.
KZN, and they were like, "Oh, those are the city
Yes.
people." They're like,
Look
"Oh,
at
boy,
Must be nice.
do you have to wake up at 5?
Yeah.
Gluing like, do the cows have to?" And I'm like, "No," and they're like, "Yeah, big boy."
So, and Nick, I don't know if you want to squeeze in there, but I feel like that's exactly where we get to perspective.
Yes. No, that's exactly.
And so we're always going this gap
nice.
thing. You see that.
No, we're in it.
But it's this gap thing. You know, Nick is always on me about, because I was just like, yeah, but it's a bit cheesy to have it as a word, and he's like, no, that's the easiest way to remember it. But it also doesn't. It also makes sure that we don't have an order. So gratitude, acceptance, perspective. There's no order. All things are worked on at all times. They've got to, because they feed each other. The more gratitude you have, the more acceptance you have. Generally, it's because of your perspective.
Exactly.
Because you have a
You
different
know what I mean?
perspective to the rest of the
So
world.
so then let's talk about the lens that the way you were raised. So you were raised in a very unique way here to me. Your mom comes from literally Epulasini, right? Which means you've got family members that are still there.
Yeah.
Which means you know what it's like to live there. You live kind of in this middle ground between
where,
what your folks could have been, what your mom could have been if the letter came on time, and what they're aspiring for you to be, and kind of where you are, which is a very similar place to where we grew up. Because we grew up in El Dorado Park with parents who, the second the Group Areas Act ended, moved us out of El Dorado Park. The second they were able to send us to Model C schools, did that.
That's
and
my
what
mother,
they did in the Kasi is they were like, cheese boys.
But
You think you're white.
We were in Extension 9, which was also called Expensive 9.
Yeah.
Because it was seen as
the land.
as
Yes,
the
nice.
cheap
because there were no
boy.
flats
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
There were
yeah.
only 3 rooms. Everyone had a 3-bedroom. Not 3
no.
rooms, 3-bedroom.
I love how these are big baller things.
Yay.
And I told you I'd go to mentions and I'm like, but why
Yeah.
the extra?
No, and that's where we became comedians, because we tease everybody,
Yes.
everybody, and the aim was to look like you are not poor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yet we all
The
we're
finesse.
all
The
poor,
finesse.
poor.
That's how
Yeah.
I pivot. Like I have like humor and ways of seeing life, because I go, yeah, but look at you.
Yeah.
But you could be worse. You could be. But look at me.
Yes.
It's fine. You were in the mention, but look, me, I can run 6Ks, not even sweat. So what?
Yeah.
You have just going up and down
Yeah,
the stairs,
just-
you are sweating.
Just you don't know where I come from. You just see me. I'm capable.
You
I'm
have
capable.
a big yard, but
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
like, can you?
like-
Where's that guy? Are you still in touch with the guy that
oddly
made the
enough.
comment about the yard?
And my thing is, when you're young, and that's why I don't hold people. I don't
Yeah.
hold people for things that they do when they're young, because that's his perspective. As
And
you
also,
said.
it
And
didn't
also
come from
that's
him.
something
Yeah,
that was
and it's
trained
not.
into
Yeah,
his
I
from
mean,
his
he
parents.
His
comes
mom and
from
dad,
his
the
parents,
and also he's not used to anything else.
yeah. And
you
for
can't hate
him,
him on that.
that was no, you must be poor. Like
Yeah.
this is so where he is. I think he's in finance, humbly living, and it's for me. I'm like, that's great for you. And I think that's amazing for you, because you were a nice enough person. And I came into contact with him, I think, a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, man, how's it going? He was like, oh, wow, I see all the things you're doing. No. And you always have that duality, right? The two parts of you, where the other part was like, yeah, but no.
Come
No,
and
you
see
haven't-
my garden.
My
now.
gardener, my guy who does my
Let me
garden,
come-
Baba. He
because
comes
you wanna
and
visit
visits.
his house. You
Blade
wanna
by
visit his
blade,
house
yeah.
now,
I'll
now
be like,
make those comments.
Yeah, but
Not going well, yeah.
yeah. But then that wolf, they always say the wolf that wins is the one you feed inside of you. I
Yes.
starve that kind
petty.
of petty, narcissistic. I know it's there. I always tell people, even the greatest people that you
All
know.
have that
Nelson
guy.
Mandela had that thing where he was like,
definitely.
yeah, 27 years, look at me now. That's literally like there were points in the mind where you have that voice, but you're like, shh, hey, calm down. You know the things you had to go through. You don't want to become the person that they were in that moment. And so for me, it's an example. Those little examples in my mind are like, okay, dude, like you're so incredibly fortunate.
Yeah.
And I almost want to tie it back to getting Mr. Supranational now. It was just a couple of weeks ago. And being the first black man, first African, all of these things. People throw those things at you. But I'm just like, Baba, I come from Kwanzimagwe there in KZN. And I am able to go back to those people and be like, yeah, no, I've been to Poland. I went to Poland.
been there.
And they're like, oh, this sash. I was like, yeah, listen, it's silk, it's nice. And it makes me feel grateful. So I can never look. It's also why I don't look at people in the industry. And I want to bring it back to this. Maybe you guys can tell me, because I know within the industry, it is competitive. People do get jobs. There's a person who's hard. I've seen so many of kind of your MC work to the shows that you've done, the things you guys have done collaboratively within the comedic space as well. But it's also always just competitive. And sometimes people will go, yeah, but look at Trevor Noah, who's the comedian that's like Trevor Noah. And I'm like, guys, look how comedy is blown up over the last few years. You know names that you otherwise wouldn't have known back in the day. It was like a handful of people, or David Gao. So those were like the only. Now it's like there's multiple platforms. Why are you looking at the outlier and not appreciating?
So I'm glad
what's
they're
happening
looking.
here? Yeah.
But I'm at a space where I'm embracing perspective as it's the lens that you're looking at it with. So I'm in a space now where I can celebrate Trevor's success.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think we say this on stage as part of the show, that if somebody who you say you love, or you say you like, or you say is a friend, or you say has that type of relationship, if that person wins and your first response isn't one of celebration for them, your first response is, why not me? Then you've got to take some time and look at yourself. So like for me, there is no time. I can say this with such a clean heart. there's no win that Trevor has that makes me feel a type of way about my wins. And weirdly, it's because I once watched Trevor in an interview with a guy, and the guy said to him, Trevor, you've changed. Something's changed about you. And he said, my most African friend, Joseph Opio, who's a good friend of Nicholas and mine,
I know.
said to him once, Trevor, why do you stress so much about what people think when you've won already? And Trevor said, what does that mean? And he said to Trevor, when you came to the States, in your wildest dreams, did you think you'd host the Daily Show? And Trevor said to him, no. Then he said, so then why do these journalists' opinions matter? Because you've already won. You're already doing the thing that wasn't possible in your wildest dreams. So when I heard Trevor say that, bruh, I get goosebumps now as I think about it. Because I was watching this in Canada as part of an exclusive thing. You know what I mean? I hadn't paid for my ticket to go. Jim Carrey was in the room. Like, it was the most crazy thing. And I heard Trevor go, I've won already. Then I got goosebumps and I went, holy shit, even me. I've done things. Nicholas and I, when we started comedy, didn't start to become big comedians. We started because we like making people laugh, which means we had zero aspiration to become famous comedians. Zero. We had zero belief that it was
Which,
possible.
mind you, is why I loved your show. And like when you guys talk about that, the fact that you guys were together and how you signed up, and it's like, sign up, we're gonna go do the show. And I'm just like, that's the thing for me.
Dude.
I never thought I'd know how the thing on the TV works. I'm like, so when people tell me things like, you've been on Generations, I'm like, I know, that's crazy.
Right?
Yes.
I was a lead in Generations.
You've won already.
Like, so I'm like, what are you going to say to me, Baba? What are you
But
going to...
you see, that's the perception thing, is because people want you to be the best, and they expect you to want to be the best.
And if you're not, you must be sad that you're
so
not.
they're not working hard enough. So like, it's the same, like with Jason and I, even with Don included, because we are three comedians who are three Goliaths who are doing the same thing. People go, no, there must be competition. There must be who's the best, who's the funniest, who's the whatever. Then I go, no, guys, I don't want Jason's life. Jason doesn't want Donovan's life.
Doesn't want the cars. He wants the children.
100%. Bottom line.
That's
bottom line.
And it frustrates me so much that people can't just leave you to do you. They've got to assume that you want more. You want the cover.
You must be like, you must...
Yes, you must be reaching for everything and trying to grab everything.
That comes from the fact that, and this perfectly sums up what I was trying to say. It comes from the fact that you're going to get to a space, and I pray this for everybody watching this thing, get to a space where you know what your win is. So you stop comparing your win to somebody else's win. My win is different to Trevor's win because I want to live close to my mom and sister. I want to have a relationship with my nephews. I want to have a wife. Trevor can't have these things because of the lifestyle he chose. Yes, he can maybe have them now.
Yeah.
But I'm saying your markers of what makes you win must never be in the WhatsApp group of somebody else. And that comes from that lens. So, brah, firstly, I wish we had more time.
I know.
And I feel this way every time I'm in your presence. You know, I was saying to my fro how excited I was to have you here because I said to her, because when she was like, hey, how well do you know? I said, you know what I love about that guy? And I'm going to say this to you, is you have the most beautifully consistent energy. Like, I've met you on so many different days in so many different environments.
And you've been busy.
And you show up the same every time. And I hope you know how important you are in terms of you're such an inspiration to young cats with mothers like we had, opportunities like we had, friends like we had, and just a prime example of you'll be amazed at what you are capable of with a little bit of your mother's guilt, a little bit of your mother's guilt, but also just a little bit of pride in terms of be clear, because I can tell you that this is what you are, and I hope you've articulated it to yourself. But what you are is what David Kibuka, who's my great mentor, once said to me: imagine the man you want to be, and then aspire every day to be more and more like that man. It's like you have such a clear version of what you want to be in your head, and then to hold yourself accountable to that. So thank you, brother. Thank you
so much,
and
guys.
for being a good human being. That's like, it's
not enough.
You could laugh, but it's a thing that's overlooked. There are not enough good people. And especially people that are in the limelight that, you know, don't have to be.
Yeah.
Because people will fall at your feet and do whatever you need them to do. So you don't have to be nice, but you are, and it's wonderful.
Thank you so much.
The Goliath Happiness Index, rating 1 to 5, 1 being terrible, 5 being could not be better. Where are you in your life right now in terms of gratitude? Just 1 to 5.
No, that's I run on a 5. That's the one thing I know. I'm just 5.
Any 30-second tips on how you can if anybody's struggling with gratitude and becoming more consistently grateful, because I really think gratitude is the carbohydrate of happiness. It's the main ingredient.
The carbs. I think if I were to tell anybody, where's my? Can I do that? Can I? If I were to tell anyone, no. If I were to tell anybody what you need to do to make sure that you're always grateful is first and foremost know that there are other people who haven't woken up when you've woken up. Whatever it is you want to improve, in the second you decided. And I always have this analogy, and it's 30 seconds, so you can look onto my Instagram at Dr. Fezile Mkhize.
Come on!
Brick by brick, you build yourself up, and brick by brick, we build the belief. So every time you do something, regardless of how small, you move towards that end goal that you have. If you want a six-pack, just walk a little more than you did yesterday, and one day you'll hopefully get it.
And not to the bottle store.
Not too chicken liquor. Yeah.
The aqua, the water bottle store.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
The water.
I love that. Also, the faster you go, the quicker you'll get to your destination. Not all journeys must be quick.
Yeah.
Think about life as a journey. You want to take your time and enjoy the road. Enjoy the road. Enjoy the road. Acceptance, my friend. 1 to 5.
Yes, sir. Acceptance. I think
Accepting
that's the one
who you
that's
are,
a bit
where
less.
You are, why you are, what you are.
It's tough because you always want to strive for more. I think
Yeah.
you guys know you want to make that slightly better comment, slightly better joke. So I fluctuate there 3 to 4. Some bad days too, if I'm being very honest. But it's a work in progress. I know I need to do better.
Dude, we were
It has
speaking
to be.
about that this morning.
If somebody comes and says 5,
Yeah,
You're like-
I honestly feel like
Five
you're
on
like, because of your acceptance now,
On
you must just be
acceptance,
here.
yeah,
I
then
must
you
just
have
see
to-
you.
no,
I must just see you here. Like, what?
then I'm
do
like,
you-
no,
No.
you're only on 5 because you've got a face beat and a weave at
Thank
the
you,
moment.
thank you. Let me wake you up in the
Thank
morning
you.
and throw some water.
Danko.
What are you at now?
Yeah.
1, yeah.
Kora to
Yeah.
1.
1.
I think that's enough said right there. Right there. That's perfect. And last but not least, perspective. In terms of 5% what happens, 95% how you react. How powerful is your mind at the moment in terms of choosing the version of the world that you want to participate in and live in and be?
At this current state, I think I'm in a bit of a flow state. Just because having an ambassadorship, having something that people call you, I almost go, okay, I'm not moving as me. I'm moving as this idea. And what would this idea do? So that means I have to try be the best version of myself. But then I also turn around and go, hey, little Fezile, like imagine you're getting to do this, and it just blows my mind. And again, I'm sitting opposite you guys. I've watched you from kind of videos to clips. I know Louis, so he's my best friend's brother, Deliza. And I just sit there and I'm like, yo, I know giants in the industry. People are going to shape how the industry looks in 10 years. And it's little old me who comes from where I come from. I'm like, I don't know why they know me, but the craziest life I could have
Because
chosen.
that is exactly how we feel all the time. We are blown away. My life surprises me
Insane.
every single day. The fact that I get to sit here and talk about happiness.
Get money for
to
things
you.
that you
No,
love.
we don't get money for this.
No, but this
But
one.
even this one, we do it with no money. No money, we are here. Because the conversation itself is the payment. And that's the valuable thing for us here. Jay and I often speak about the fact that even if nobody watches this podcast, just the conversations that happen here, the soul food that we get from this is more than enough. We would like you to share those
Yes.
with your friends and family.
Yes, we
So
would like to
so
say.
these can be sponsored.
And
You see
also,
the
if you
fee.
want to give us money, I mean, we are here. I've got many pockets that are empty. Many. Some of them are full. Don't get me wrong. But I've got a lot of free pockets. I also want to just a very honest word of encouragement. One of the other things that Dr. Fez has inspired us to do as we close is it's 2024. Pageantry for men is a thing. Go and earn your title, boys. Go and earn your title. Go and show up. Go and think about who you are. Go stand in front. The only pressure is you have to win. Because you don't want to be called the first princess for the rest of your days. Now you're the first princess.
Hey, listen, it's okay. As long as you show up, eh? That's what I
In
believe.
the
As long
event
as
of
you show
Dr.
up.
Fez not being able to fulfill his obligations
Now, who
as
must
Mr.
take? Someone must take.
Supranational.
Somebody must take it, you know? I'm only holding it for a period, and then I transition, and that's life. You give, and then you pass. By the way, can we just all agree that we're going to have a men's health cover? All three of us are there. Can we...
Look, we've
be there.
done the Destiny Man cover.
I'll be there.
The
No,
men's
I
health?
may not be
Next
on the
stop-
cover, but I'll be at
Next
the cover
up,
shoot.
men's health
I'll be
cover,
there.
and it's gonna be one of those split covers. It's literally gonna happen. Like you can go from this If you work slightly hard, to that. And if you are obsessed, you'll be this. We offered this man McDonald's. We are filming this thing in July. He's got a cover shoot in January. He said, I can't. Choose your life and think about the cost. If you cannot go 6 months without a burger, the men's health cover is not in your WhatsApp group. I don't need it. Destiny Man, men's health, choose your life. Thank you for
Could have
watching.
just said a burger and not McDonald's, because now they got almost like free.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't count. Like even Steers will sponsor you even while you're eating a McDonald's burger because McDonald's burgers don't count.
That's actually true.
100%. They don't
That's
count.
true. And he'll bleep it out, don't worry.
Yeah.
No, they're not going to bleep it out. We know how long the back end of this thing takes.
Also, bring back the double quarter pounder with cheese.
This has turned into a whole advocacy. Bring
Yeah.
it back
Got it.
with the Szechuan sauce.
Love and respect,
Brother,
boy. Thank you for
Yo.
sharing.